This is, as you said, a huge series against the Atlanta Braves coming up here now. And here we are. They're basically one game behind them in the win column, and they're 2 games behind them in the loss column, or 2 games ahead of them, depending on how you want to look at it. The point being is that this was like what we felt was coming.
We got ripped, all the Met fans. You guys are so negative when we said the Braves were going to be in first place at the All-Star break. Well, all right, prove us wrong then, because you got these 3 games. Prove us wrong. Win the series, sweep the series. And I know Jeff McNeil's not going to be around, and that's another point that you made about
Starling Marte.
Yeah, it's Starling Marte as well. You talk about this lineup is just not. Now, he's going to avoid the IL, at least, Starling Marte.
I don't know about that.
No, they said he was going to avoid the IL.
Is he really?
Yeah, no, at least I read this morning. So
what does that mean?
Changed.
Like, so he missed like the next 5 games? Is that all?
I don't know. Hopefully, it's just a handful. I don't know.
Look, we're just past the halfway point, and nobody is getting crazy. But what we are trying to point out is what we've been pointing out for a month now, and that was who the Braves were playing and who the Mets were playing. And this all goes back to when the Mets had that West Coast trip and then went 5-5. Mm-hmm. But the worst part of all of it is that they got swept by the Houston Astros. They had that game. They had the 2 games out in Houston. They were awful. Then they came home. They got beat by Houston again after Houston won through the Yankees. And to me, whether it be Scherzer, Peterson, or Bassett, all 3 of them have got to go. And they got to pitch their ass off now.
Well, like Taijuan Walker or like Max Scherzer the last time, and they lost both those games.
Right, and this is the point. Even if Jacob deGrom comes back, they're going to lose games 2-1. They're going to lose games 1-0 like they did yesterday. And yesterday was really unfortunate because Thomas Nido has been a nice player, a good solid player, and I don't know what got into him, and I don't know what got into DJ LeMahieu last night. Thinking that he's like, Joe Morgan or something at second base. But there are moments in games where you got to be on top of your game, and you got to have opportunities. And when those opportunities present themselves, you either come through or you don't. And for the Mets last night, and for the Mets really predominantly for almost all of June, they haven't come through.
Well, I mean, Sandy Alcantara is a great pitcher. There's no doubt about it. So, I mean, you have to at least factor that in. But you really wanted Francisco Lindor and the couple opportunities that he had yesterday come through. I mean, he is supposed to be the guy when guys are going down or they're going on paternity leaves or whatever, and Francisco Lindor's in the lineup and Pete Alonso's in the lineup. Those are the guys that need to carry the team. He has to. And I know that he's had a bunch of RBIs, and that's great, and he's not an all-star, and who really cares about that? But it just, even with his 60 RBIs, it doesn't feel like he's driving in enough runs. It doesn't feel like he's clutch enough. It doesn't feel like he's the offensive player we need him to be, because he's not. So it's the games like this weren't happening in the first portion of the season. I mean, they were finding ways to get on base. They were getting those clutch hits, runners in scoring position. And over the last couple of weeks where they've been spinning their wheels and been around 500, it's been a major problem. And all I can think about is who is going to come in and save this team at the trade deadline. Who is going to be that bat? And when are we going to see that bat? And is it going to work? I mean, it worked with Yoenis Cespedes. Sometimes it doesn't work, too. So this is a critical series, and you're going into it basically shorthanded as well.
Right. So, they're going in shorthanded. So it's 7 games left for both them and the Atlanta Braves before the break. The question is, what are I kind of feel like the Braves are going to be in first place, and it's going to be a really unfortunate thing because it's not. Look, the Mets can come back. They can make the trade deadline. They can get DeGrom back, and things can change, and they can go on a 2-week run. They are very, very capable of doing that. But the thing about it is that this whole first half, they've been in first place. Mm. And if they take 2 out of 3 from Atlanta, hey, we'll bite our tongue.
Sure.
Fine. And then go out and take 3 out of 4 from Chicago, and then go to the All-Star break, 2 games up, and you feel good about it. But the perception of what has been going on over the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks for the New York Mets is that they have been a Midland team, a very average team. For the most part, the pitching has been okay. Every now and again, their bullpen may implode, but they just are not. They're just not getting the clutch hits when they need them. The guys in scoring with runners in scoring position, they've been terrible. So I don't know. It's like I don't want to be a pessimist. I really don't. I've been trying to be more of a realist. and it shows that there has to be something has to be done to kind of switch this thing around, and maybe that is these 3 games. I don't know. Maybe somehow they come out of this series 2 out of 3, and that's exactly what they're going to need.
Yeah, I know that as you mentioned the perception of it. The perception is, I'm sure, from the outside, oh, here we go again. This is just the Mets doing what they always do. It's the same thing as last year. It's the same thing as 2007, 2008. But it really isn't. I mean, they're not blowing it, really. They're playing .500 baseball, but the team behind them is at this record pace. So it doesn't feel like the team is falling apart. There's still 20 games over .500. It's not like they went on some sort of 11-game losing streak, but this lead now is in jeopardy. And winning the division, as we know, is always important in baseball, and it's even more so now when you talk about getting a bye, going into the NLDS. So it's a long way to go, but this just feels so important. And also, they haven't had a crack at each other, these two teams, for the longest time, it feels like.
It also feels like it's been going this way. It's had a negative tinge for 6 weeks.
Yeah, sure.
And, I go back to the West Coast trip. We all said, get out of there 5-5. You can get out of there 6-4, 7-3. That would be unbelievable. They salvaged that trip a little bit. They did lose some ground during that time. But then the reality, to me, anyway, hit when I saw them against Houston.
Yeah, yep. I mean, that was a wake-up call for sure. It just didn't look like they could compete with the best in baseball it looked like they were way far behind in those games, not just like,
well, they had pitching problems on the road for sure. But even like Taijuan Walker yesterday, he was great. He hung in there, and he showed just like Carrasco did the other night. He showed you toughness, especially in the first inning. First swing of the bat, it's Keith Hernandez day, for God's sake, and they got the bases loaded with no out.
How great was that? It ended up working out really, really well. The Mets have gotten crushed over the years for not honoring the history of the team enough, and now with Steve Cohen, you feel like that's not going to be the case. And I just thought that ceremony was tremendous, and we obviously love Keith, and just watching him bop around and have that day, it's just got to be so cool.
No, yeah, it was great.
Is that like the best moment of like in your sports career? Obviously,
it's got to be. It has
Hall of Fame or a number retirement, because you've already done all the hard work, at that point.
Well,
and then you get the adulation of tens of thousands of fans. I don't think it gets any better than that.
I don't think so either, because 45,000 fans came to see Keith and to celebrate his career and celebrate who he is as a broadcaster. So he's been here, 40 years associated with the Mets, which is amazing. They did it great. Don Mattingly was great. Came out of the dugout.
The best they could do with the picture of Keith Hernandez.
I don't know. You'd have to ask Stephen Waldron what he's doing over there.
That's a little rough.
But it was done. It was quick. It was good. And I would say having 45,000 fans, like if you go, like when he goes into the Hall of Fame, because I believe he'll get there. But when he goes in, he's not going to have 45,000 fans all there for him.
Yeah, right. At the building with everybody there showing up and the speeches. And it's all about him. He was the only one that anybody was paying attention to. To see that 17 and then unfurl the 17, it was just pretty cool.
You gotta see. So I'm sitting there with my grandson, Casper.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for about a half an hour, he sat right next to me.
Get out of here. At that age?
Yes, he was right there. He was playing with my bracelets, and we watched the entire,
Keith Hernandez ceremony
thing. Yeah.
To have a baby of that age, sit for a half an hour.
He did.
Is just a miracle.
It is a miracle.
It was all because of Keith?
I don't know if it was because of Keith or it was because, he liked my bracelets. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you think he drove himself to the game that day? No way, right? Because he had to at least end up having a few, and who was going around in the suites and everything. I hope he got a car.
No, they got him a car.
Did the Mets pick that up, or did he pick that up?
No, he even mentioned it, that, he thanked the Cohen family for doing it in an amazing way, footing the bill for everybody to come in and everything else. So they did everything right. I mean,
you can't drive yourself to your own retirement party. You know what I'm saying?
No, of course not.
Or your number ceremony.
No, but I did go to the American Hotel on Monday, on Saturday night.
On Sag Harbor? Did you see him?
No, of course not. It was Keith Hernandez.
No, I know, but I thought maybe late night.
I did kind of see him. No. I think he had a party in the city.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't invited.
I thought he was going to go right back out there and party.
I was not invited in that.
You were not invited.
But no, there he is at the American Hotel.
Oh, nice. Little Keith Hernandez bobblehead that they had there. That's great.
Yeah, and then they also have one of Ronnie and Gary. And
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it sits on a shelf right there in the American hotels.
The amount of time that he spends in there, I mean, he should
Exactly.
be. There should be some sort of statue there. He's a monument at that place. So that's very cool. I was hoping you'd see him out there in the summer. But anyway, yeah, that was the good part of the weekend. The bad part of the weekend was you ended up splitting with the Marlins, and now you're heading into this series.
And that's another thing. You know, the Marlins, we said, take 3 out of 4 from the Marlins.
The Marlins are better than a lot of people think.
No, they are. They are. But the Mets, again, you know, they couldn't get a hit, and a couple errors, crazy situations in the field, and you give a game away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're facing one of the best pitchers in baseball, and the guy who may be the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, but, you know, just like Taijuan Walker, both of them pitched to a certain amount, and then they were out of the game. So win the game then.
Yeah, no, I know. And Taijuan Walker, hopefully, he did the same thing last year in the first half. He was great. And he may end up being, if someone can't make the All-Star team, he may end up being a reserve again, as he was last year. But remember, the second half for Taijuan Walker, he had almost a 7 ERA.
Yes.
I mean, and he was asked about it yesterday after the game, and he goes, I don't even remember last year, is what he said.
I wouldn't either.
You just flush it?
I'm not talking to you about negative things. Come on, it's a whole new year.
You just flush it just like that, but don't you have to learn from your mistakes type of thing?
Well, he's already gone through the learning process.
Okay, and you feel like he has. But I mean,
well, I don't know. I hope he has. I don't want to see a reoccurrence of what happened last year.
No, nobody does.
Come on.
But it just, until you see him go out and have a second half like the first half, you're going to think maybe it's going to happen again.
There's something about this team that's not there yet. It's just not there.
Not right.
Just, I don't know what it is. And
but this is the exact opposite.
It comes down to clutch hitting. That's
yeah,
what
probably.
It comes down to.
But that's the exact opposite of what we were saying about the team this entire year. They're different. It's Buck. It's Scherzer. They're different. And now we're back to saying there's something missing.
I don't know what you can say over the last 25, 30 games. I mean, what are you going to say? They've been a 500 middling, frustrating team. They've thrown some games away. They've had some bad moments. They haven't had as many clutch moments as they need to have in order to have, you know, a sustained winning record. Not win 2, lose 2, win 2, lose 3, win 2. You know, lose 1. I mean, it's just they just have not gotten the traction. It's where the Braves have virtually been nonstop winning.
Yeah, I mean 26-9 or whatever, some crazy stretch they've gone on since June 1st.
And they played a lot of bad teams. Don't get me wrong, they have.
Yeah,
and there's no question about that. And they've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat, and they bring this kid Harris up in the middle. I mean, this is why people want to see Alvarez.
Yeah,
because they want their own spark plug that maybe is residing right there in the organization, and let's see if this is the guy.
And you see who else they brought in just recently, an old friend. It was as of last night, I think, the great Robinson Cano.
Oh, you mean the Braves did?
Yeah. So,
and he may play in this series,
right? Of course. If he ends up beating the Mets, that's going to be the low point of the season. Like a walk-off Robinson Cano home run. Could it get any worse than that? And the Mets are paying him. He's rounding the bases, and they're jumping up and down at home plate, and Robinson Cano beats the Mets.
The Mets did the right thing.
No, I know they did. I'm just saying that would be miserable.
I swear to God, I just want to see competitive baseball. I don't.
Oh, you got to see wins. What do you mean competitive baseball?
No, I mean if they lose,
that's your standard right now.
No, listen to me. If they lose, I don't want to see a 7. I don't want to see like a Houston situation that we saw. 3 weeks ago?
You're lowering the bar.
You know why? Just because there's a flatness that is taking over this team.
I mean, isn't this the day of screw the Braves, go in there, be the team, go and win 2 out of 3, take it from them, you're the first place. Isn't that what today's supposed to be about?
Yeah.
Yes,
100%.
Right. Not the if I just want to see competitive baseball. What happened to you?
No, I just don't want to see them get hammered.
Well, of course, nobody wants to see that. I don't want to see them lose. Period.
Are you going to come up with like pregame speech?
I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe later we'll do a combined pregame fire 'em up speech, and we'll send it down there. I'll text it to Harold and PR and see if we'll play it to the team in the clubhouse.
All right. So let me ask you this now.
Yeah.
What was DJ LeMahieu thinking about last night?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
There's a lot of games. You play in a lot of games, and there's going to be a lot of moments where you you think you got to pop up, and then you don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then poor Aroldis Chapman is sitting there going, okay, I got this. This is going to be can of corn right here.
Yeah. I mean, it's really you know what that reminds me of, because it's like the same exact sort of in that realm as Luis Castillo. The second one was the worst one.
I mean,
I don't know what that was. You lose
Luis
it in the weird
Castillo.
sky.
I mean, come on.
That's what it reminds me of. I'm sorry. Reminds me of the Luis Castillo pop. Every time I see something like that, it reminds me of the Luis Castillo pop.
It's interesting reading the recaps this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Red Sox aren't going anywhere. Well, they're 14 games behind, man. They got 9 million injuries, so they won the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, I mean, if they continue on this pace and get into the playoffs, it could, who knows? Maybe they get hot. We've seen it in baseball a million times, but as far as not going anywhere, the Yankees are winning the division. We've known this for a month and a half. I mean, they're 100% going to win the division. They're not going to fall apart. But, yeah, this was a good series for the Red Sox, if you think about it. You know what?
Yeah.